Dave.
Yes?
David Sylvester, now that you're back.
Now that I'm back. What the fuck happened?
Yeah. So let's do a Forrest Gump thing. Now you're here. Let's go back to the beginning. So, I guess last time I talked to you was right before you left. Was the day before you left on that
Right.
Friday. So, start me off in San Bernardino.
I guess first of all, the flight out there was horrible. I was sick as a damn dog. I kind of knew there was going to be some issues when I was talking to some people in line, and one of the people that I was talking to had to ask for a high five. Normally, I'm the first one to smack him, and excuse me. Yeah, when he was like, "Hey man, do I get a high five?" And I was like, "Yeah," and I just kind of knew like my timing was just off. I just felt bad, and then the flight to California, my ears were popping. I felt horrible, and no amount. I was napping the whole time on the flight, and I just felt bad. When I got to go rent a car, there were like 8 people in line, and I, rather than just wait in line, I just sat in one of the chairs they had, and I just took a nap, and it was just bad, and no matter how much I slept, no matter how much I napped, I just kept feeling worse, and so the next day I felt even worse. Head clogged up, ears were horrible, and then my balance was a little off, and it was just bad, and but I tried to gut my way through it, and was going to go pick up a bicycle. I made some arrangements with some bike shops out there, a bike shop out there, to get a bicycle, and my plan was to get up first thing in the morning and then go to the bike shop and get it, but then I was like, man, I'm really tired. I'll sleep a little bit later, and I just kept feeling bad, and at the point that I couldn't stand, because my equilibrium was off. It was really time to think about, am I going to continue to do this trip? I was stressing out about it. I gave it one more day, and that day was even worse. That day was even worse, and so that's when I really had to face facts that I can't do this. I can't do this. And so it was really a tough thing for me. I called a lot of my friends to talk to them about what was going on with me. And they suggested that I talk to one of my friends who's a doctor. They said basically, I think you have an ear infection or a sinus infection after describing my symptoms and stuff like that. And basically that stress was not going to help the healing of this. I needed some antibiotics, I needed some rest, and just to call the trip. And I really didn't want to. I put a lot of work into this, even though a lot of the details that I put together beforehand seemed to fall apart right before my very eyes, like the support car vehicle, that fell through, literally 3 days before I was supposed to go. The support car driver, like everything that just seemed to be working against me on this trip. And now my health was working against me. And I just had to call it. And it was interesting because I talked to a friend of mine who suggested that he said the greatest thing about your journeys is not the bicycling. That's something that you really care about. The greatest part about your trips is the fact that you managed to find a way through and around every obstacle that's been before you. He said, that's what we care about. That's what we marvel at. That's the part that keeps us engrossed in your story. So Dave, you get an opportunity now to create the wall. Just call the trip. Call the trip off. You'll figure out a way to make it great, and we'll all marvel at it. And that was something that was very nice to say, nice to hear. And that was something that I didn't expect to hear from this friend. And and that's what I did. I called it, and then I figured out a way. This place was not this loud when we first sat down.
No.
And I figured out a way to make something happen. All of that said, this trip was fucking amazing. I mean, it was just fucking amazing because everything that seemingly went wrong ended up working to my favor. Just the decision to buy a bicycle out on the West Coast as opposed to packing one up and taking one out there really, really worked, because now that meant whatever I was going to spend for a bicycle, I was now spending in rental car fees. I went to Hertz and talked to them about what I was doing, and I said, look, give me the best deal on a one-way rental, and I was going to spend $2,000 on a bike. I ended up spending $2,100 in rental car fees, and that was fine. I didn't flinch about it. And what I did was I managed to put myself in places where I could hug and high five and really engage thousands of people, literally thousands of people. One of the biggest things in terms of just the enormity of people was in Albuquerque, when I got an opportunity to hug and high five 6,000 fans at the Albuquerque Isotopes game. I contacted the Albuquerque Isotopes and said I was making my way across the country trying to inspire people. Not only I sent the email, and the guy didn't even respond to the email. He called me and texted me and was like, basically, listen, if this is legit, we want you. And it turns out that the director of promotions for the Albuquerque Isotopes is from Philadelphia and just moved out to Albuquerque. It was crazy, and he was like, look, dude, if this is legit, we want you. And so it was great. It was just great. So I got to Albuquerque. I was on the Albuquerque Today show, which was great, and explained to the audience what I was doing. That night, I went and first things first, I went and I got this sign made. The sign is great. The sign is about 6'3", and it says "Ride, Hug, High Five, Repeat." My friend Joe, and Cherie helped me design it and put it together, and it was the best $179 I spent, and had this sign set up at the game, and right before, kids make so much noise, right before the game, I got a chance to go out to the pitcher's mound and address 6,000 fans, and it was great. And then I went to near the souvenir shop, and I just stood there by my sign, and fans just came to hug and high five me. One woman came specifically just to hug and high five me. She saw me on the news, and she said, "I'm just here for you. I'm going to dinner." And she started to leave, and I said, "So where are you going?" And she said, "Oh, let's get this straight. I fucking hate baseball, but I love hugs, and I love what you're doing." And she said, "This is all. I came here for you." So, I mean, for some woman to come to a baseball game just to get a hug and walk out was just really, really great. And, and that was just a thrill, just speaking to all the fans. Probably one of the other biggest things.
It couldn't be any louder. I mean, it's really just...
It could not be any louder. One of the other biggest thrills, probably the biggest thrill, is when I was at the Flagstaff Junior Academy, Flagstaff, Arizona, and I got a chance to talk to a bunch of kids, a bunch of 8th graders. And I met a teacher because I gave a talk in a bar. His teacher was in attendance. He said, "Hey, come speak to my kids." And so I went. I went to his class and spoke to the kids. And it was great because in the middle of my talk, one of the kids just stood up and walked over to me and said, "I want a hug now." And I was like, "Shit, kid, I'm still speaking," but it was great. It was great. And then afterwards, all the kids wanted to take a group picture with him. So we took a group picture, and then one of the kids said, I want a hug, and another one said they wanted a hug too. And because they're kids, I figured that it was just, I'd give them one big group hug, and we go on about their business. And the kids said, no, we want our own hugs. And so these 8th graders, I don't know, 8th grade was a long time ago, but I know I was a dick in 8th grade. And so I imagine you were too, and most of the people looking at this, But these kids lined up for hugs, all of them, one by one by one by one. All of them, the boys, the girls, the happy-go-lucky looking kids, the what's-his-face, it was just every one of them. And it was just really, 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 really touching. And so after these kids hugged me, it happened to be my birthday. And I said, you know what, this is really, really touching. I said, this is my birthday, and I said, I'm really touched by all this. And as soon as I said it was my birthday, all of these kids turned around and ran to me and surrounded me and hugged me and saying happy birthday to me. And it was really, it was really, really special. That was really just a great gift and a great moment that quite honestly wouldn't have happened if I would have been on my bicycle, because I wouldn't have been there that day. And what's interesting about that is that afterwards I went to speak to one of the administrators about the reaction that I had with the kids and all that stuff. And one of the kids wanted to follow me and just hang out. And I was like, yeah, sure, hang out. And so the kid is like sitting like 20 feet on that, like in the corner of the classroom, just sort of, skulking around. I was like, kid, you can come closer. He's like, okay. And so he looked at the back of my card, back of my business card, which is just this map and it has my information and stuff. And so he looks at the back of my card and he says, is this your real phone number? And I said, yeah, kid, it's the only phone I got. And he says, no. So I'm standing here talking to the administrator. My phone is sitting there. He stands over my phone and starts dialing the number. And then when my phone starts ringing, he says, oh my God, it's ringing. It's ringing. And I said, yeah, man, that's what phones do. And he said, but you don't understand, like, you're famous and I have your phone number. And he said, you are famous. And he kept repeating I was famous. And I said, look, kid, I said, I'm not famous, I'm just a regular dude. And I said, whatever club I'm in, if you start telling people that I'm famous, I imagine real famous people will actually come and kick me out of whatever club I'm in. So please stop. I'm just a regular dude. He said, no, you don't understand. You're famous and I know you. So I was just like, it was cool. I think, we forget eighth grade exuberance. And so I'm talking to the administrator, and then all of a sudden it was funny because this kid, he then sits over in the corner, and then I hear him speaking. He's calling his father, and he's saying, hey, Dad, I know I'm not supposed to give my phone number out to people, but I just met this man at school, and I gave him my phone. And at that point, I told the teacher, I was like, look, you handle that. I am leaving the premises. It was a great moment. And so, that again wouldn't have happened if I would have been on the tour. There were just so many things that happened. When I was at the baseball game, I met a woman who worked there, and she found out earlier in the day that she said that her neighbor's son was killed by a drunk driver earlier that day. And she couldn't call out of work, so she just had to sit there and, in her words, bite her lip and just not cry. And, she just looked at me and she had tears, welling up in her eyes. And she's like, I can't believe, he's gone. I looked at this kid like he was my own child. And she said, mister, if there's a good hug in there, I sure need it right now. And so I hugged her for a while, and we talked about grief and people I've lost and whatever. And it was a real tender moment. And she walked back to her post that wasn't too far from where I was hugging and high-fiving people. And then she turned right back around, and she said, you know what, I don't know what's going on, but you're exactly where you need to be. And that really helped me sort of, drop my own anxiety level about not being on the bike. Because, I felt a little embarrassed for stopping or quitting or just having to change this thing radically. But really, it wasn't about the bicycle, to take a line from Lance Armstrong. This is about hugs and high fives. And I mean, I hugged and high fived a hell of a lot of people. And so yeah, it just all worked out. So all in all, I ended up going not totally across the country, but from San Bernardino to Chicago, stopping in a lot of cities. There's the Oklahoma City Memorial, which was, the Oklahoma City Memorial is extremely, extremely powerful. And I would suggest that anybody listening to this, looking at this, go there, go there and see it, because it is just the monument. What you have is like this big granite gate that's like 3 stories, and it says 901, which is the minute before the bombing occurred in 1995. And then you have this big black granite reflecting pool that runs the length of where the federal building once was, and then you have this matching gate on the other side that says 903 on it, which is the minute after the bombing and the minute that healing begins. And it really gave you a sense of the totality of, the size of the building. And off to the side, there are 168, 169 empty chairs, empty bronze and glass chairs, signifying all the people that were lost that day. And it was just it's very, very powerful. It's very, very peaceful, and I think it's a great monument. I think they did a very, very, very good job with it. And I had some great moments there. So I had good hugs, good times, all the way. And I think I found out, that it's like, again, it's not about the bike. It's about the hugs and high fives. And, I want to do this again. I want to do another tour like this. Maybe not biking at all next year. What I'd like to do is, work a deal with some companies and some charities, partner up with some charities, and basically get a van and drive through the lower 48, and just hug it, see if I can hug and high five, or me with a bunch of charities, maybe Big Brothers Big Sisters, maybe some other organizations, just fill up a van or an RV with people, and let's take them around and hug and high five people. Let's share the magic, because it was really that great. I had a guy in this one bar. It's funny. I was in Arizona, and I asked the people at the hotel what bar I should go to, and they told me not to go to this one bar. And where I went. I went directly to that bar, and so I'm in this bar, and I'm sitting there, and it was karaoke night, and people are wasted. People are college wasted at this bar, and I'm sitting there, and this guy walks in, and from the door he just screams, "Holy shit, there are black people here!" And so I just look around, because I thought, maybe there is somebody else black there, and it wasn't. And I said, "Well, I'm just one man." And he said, "Yeah, but shit, you're big enough for people." And I started laughing, and then I asked him if he wanted to buy, wanted a drink, and he's like, "No, I got something. I was outside smoking." He's like, "What are you doing here?" And I started telling my story, and next thing I know, this guy opens up about some addiction issues that he has, and how he's been sober for 8 years, and how he said now 8 years sober, 8 years removed from it all, 8 years of soul searching. He said, it wasn't a high that I was looking for. It was hugs. I mean, he went on, he opened up about his childhood and stuff like that. And he said that it was, I just, deep down, I was just looking for a hug. And so he started to tell me how now he hugs everybody. He hugs his employees. He hugs his employer. He hugs his stepdaughter. He hugs everybody. And he said everybody thinks it's this big camaraderie, and this team building tool that he's using. But he's like, nah, man, I need these hugs. I need them. He said, I want these hugs. And he said, these hugs keep me sober. These hugs keep me sane. These hugs keep me happy. I need these things. And he said, it's so great that you're just out there just giving them away. And so, what's interesting is that he was getting so emotional that when his time came up to sing, he was just in tears. And he started talking his way through his song, saying, hey, I want to talk about this guy I just met named Dave, blah, blah, blah. He's sitting right here. He biked all over the world, this, that, and other. Everybody's like, dude, shut the fuck up and sing this song. And then he really starts crying. He says, there's more important things than song. And everybody's like, come on, dude, just sing. It's not a pulpit. So then he curses the crowd out and says, look, fuck all y'all, man. All right. And then he changed the song, and he said, Dave, this is for you. And he said, I know I'm going to fuck this song up, but I'm singing it anyway. And it was Johnny Cash's I've Been Everywhere, Man. And he did fuck the song up. But it was really, really, really nice. And it was just a beautiful tour. And it really, looking back on all of this, it really seemed like the world was conspiring against me for doing this tour, but I think the world was really conspiring for me to do this tour. Yeah. Not the tour that I wanted. Because the tour that I would have wanted would have been very limited. It would have been just me,
Well, if we look at your trips, this is what, your 7th trip now?
This was my 7th trip.
So, you talked about it in your talks. Your evolved talk is kind of how things have changed. So, the first Hugs and High Fives tour in Australia would you say that was kind of like a stepping stone to go from where you used to be to where you are now? Like, do you think this is it has to be the right step, right?
I think this is the step. The Australia tour, Hugs and High Five tour, was solely about random. Just me. Hey, there's some people. Let me go hug and high five them. It was just totally random.
This is still very much bike centered.
Right. This is, but this was a lot more organized in terms of I knew the cities I was going to, I knew some of the locations I was going to, and I was just, it was all about the hugs and high fives. And what I found was that, like most people even said, we don't care about the bike. We just care that you're out here hugging and high-fiving people. So it was. I think that's what this is going to become now. Yeah. Maybe it's something where if it is an RV filled with people, maybe I get up early every morning and I bike 20 or 30 miles each day, and then they pick me up on the road, and then we continue on driving somewhere. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's that. But I really think that this trip showed me it's got to be beyond me now. It can't just be me out there hugging and high-fiving. It's great for me, but there's so much depth within all of that, within all of these stories. These stories were so rich that it's time for me to share this.
And I think from working with you, I think that was one of the main struggles is getting beyond the bike, in the sense that people first would look at your story and think it was an athletic story when really it wasn't. So, when you told me originally that the bike was not really going to be a part of this trip, my main thought was that maybe now this is what we're getting to, a trip where we're not athletically centered, where it really is just about your message. And
I think that's where we are. I think it's where it needs to be. Shit, look, there was a shooting today, 50 people dead, it's not about a bike, it's about, it's not about a bike, man. It shouldn't be about a bike. People are angry. And I guess people have always been angry, but people are going about displaying their anger in some very lethal ways. That's ending lives all over the place. I mean, I can't tell you the number of people that I met that said they knew somebody that was killed from some gunman, some a knife attack. What's his face? Someone was telling me about someone's beaten to death. I mean, it's people are. It needs to be about more hugs and more moments. I mean, I get it. Hugs and high fives. This shit sounds corny. I get it. But someone's got to do something in order to try and put a stop to the anger that's out there.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty much brought us up to now.
All right. But then we'll stop here and then we'll tape somewhere else. All right.
Sounds good.
Peace.